Hey, I'm so glad you're here watching this. This is the second video of 3 where we're talking about lifting off one of the heaviest burdens that we have as moms. Yesterday I mentioned the 4 areas of healthy development that all of our kids need and how these are often the 4 areas that are the most difficult to give our kids exposure to because of everything that's required of us as moms, which is everything. And I wanted to start by telling you how we started discovering these 4 areas of development. It actually began because I was not giving these things to my kids, or didn't feel like I was giving these things to my kids. It was about 2.5 years ago, and I was just buried under a mountain of postpartum depression. I had never experienced anything like that before. I remember going to bed and being afraid to fall asleep because I knew that I would have to wake up the next day. One day, my husband had come home from work. He'd had a super hard day, and I'd had a super hard day, and we were both coming from these areas of really high pressure in our jobs. Him in his professional job and mine in my professional job as a mom, and we came together and we were like, we cannot do this anymore. We decided to sell our house and everything that we owned, and we just started traveling with our kids. For the next 6 months, we went from the West Coast to the East Coast and back to the West Coast. And while we were driving and while we were living this lifestyle, this new lifestyle, we were kind of forced to make these changes. Because we didn't have a TV, we were forced to not watch TV. And because we didn't have a house, we were rarely inside. We spent probably 90% of our time outside in nature is where it just kind of ended up being. We started seeing a giant transformation in our kids just from doing these simple 4 things, just from introducing these 4 areas of development in a way that we had never done before. And those things that we found from that experience and the huge transformation that we saw in our kids, and then the things that we had started researching, as well as the feedback that we'd heard from other parents during this time that were getting fairy mail, those were all the things that inspired us to make a change in fairy mail. So when we first started the company, the vision was to encourage kids to believe in magic. But over the last couple of years, it's really evolved into giving kids exposure to these 4 areas of development in a way that takes burdens off of moms. Being a mom to 4 kids under the age of 6 is really hard. And I know that there's about a million other moms in the same boat, because no matter how many kids you have, there's only one of you to go around, and it's almost impossible to give our kids positive exposure to these areas all the time. And so that's what inspired the change in fairy mail. We've adopted this new motto this year that is basically the fairy language for the 4 areas of healthy development. So I'm going to read you this quote from UNICEF that freaks me out, and I'll tell you why I'm going to read it to you. They said, "A lack of educational opportunities during these early years," which they talk about earlier in this article is between the ages of 0 to 8, "can lead to irreversible outcomes which can affect a child's potential for the remainder of his or her life." All of my kids are in this age group that they're talking about, and so when I read a quote like that, I immediately, like, my personality is immediately to go into freak out mode, and I start freaking out that because I fed them sugar and I let them watch 3 hours of TV, that they're gonna grow up to be psychopaths. That's like the fear that's in my mind. So one thing that I've had to recognize for myself and my own mothering style is that I cannot focus on the negative. I can't focus on the things that I'm not giving them. I have to focus on the positive. And so every time I expose my kids to one of these 4 areas of development, I count it as a win. And that's what inspired this new thing that we're doing with Fairy Mail. It's called a Year of Magic. So what it is it's one big package that we send to your house, to you, the mom, that includes 24 letters from the fairies, and each one of these letters touches on one of the 4 areas of development. We send scavenger hunts that get them in the fresh air. We send them kindness challenges, which is promoting positive social interactions. We send them something that we call magical botanicals, so they get a chance to study plants and grow their own plants. My favorite thing about the package is that it takes away all of the burdens off of moms. So we've done the research, we've done the content, we've done the design, we've put the letter together, and so all you have to do is pull out a letter, write your kids' names on it, and then hide it somewhere where they can find the fairies. And it's kind of just like this instant way to give them a positive exposure to one of these areas. One of my favorite things about the Year of Magic package is that because we're sending the letters to you in one instead of one at a time, we save a ton of money, and so you get to save a ton of money, which is always awesome. But then we also decided, since we're already filling up a box, we might as well fill it to the top. So we get to include a ton of fun stuff for the kids. We send them all these little magical tools and supplies that they need to fulfill their kindness challenges and their literature challenges and their magical scavenger hunts and their magical botanicals. They get all the things that they need to implement those things. There's one other thing about this package that we're doing. We've never done this before, and it's the thing I'm most excited about because this one is for you as the mom. I'm going to talk about it in our next video. So right now what I want you to do is you can either comment on the video or reply to our email and tell us what is your vision for your kids. So I'll give you an example. After having this trip, my vision for the kids is that they're incredible friends who are fearless and who are lifelong learners. I've just decided if I can focus on those things by making them really good people who are not limited by their own negative thoughts, who are inquisitive and excited to learn for the rest of their lives, then I've done my job as a mom. I want you to comment with what is your vision for your kids, and we're gonna kind of use that to introduce the video tomorrow that talks about the big cool thing that we get to add to this Year of Magic package that we've never done before. So thanks for watching, send a comment, and then I'll see you in our next video.